Welcome to NC Political Tea, the show where North Carolina's political scene gets served piping hot, grassroots style. We're here to shake up the status quo with unapologetically conservative takes and a whole lot of Southern charm. From the halls of Congress to under the dome, we're exposing the deals, the drama, and the dirt that the mainstream media won't touch. Who's fighting for your freedom? Who's selling out to the woke mob? And who's about to get roasted? No fluff, no filters, and absolutely no time for spineless politics. Just bold Republican commentary, sharp analysis, and enough sass to make the left squirm. So grab your sweet tea or something stronger, and let's dive into the hottest headlines and juiciest scandals rocking the Tar Heel State. This is NC Political Tea, where the truth always gets served.
Do you know what I've noticed? I've noticed that we typically wear the same color.
I don't know. I don't call you and say I'm wearing black or purple or pink or green or whatever. It's weird.
It's really weird. And if we wear different colors, it's the same thing, like sweatshirts. We don't coordinate sweatshirts. Hello, Margot. How are you?
Hello. You know, listen, I just have to say this. I love our intro. It's so good to see all those people that we've had on the podcast in the past. And it's actually fun to see the dome and know that that's what we're really talking about on this podcast is all the things going on. It's so good to see you though, Sloan, since I haven't seen you since last week.
I know. We only talk 45 times a day.
I know, but so much has happened in North Carolina just in the last couple of days. It's insane.
It is because we're covering national, which always leads to the state. So it's a lot of stuff. People are very busy, keeping us busy. And you said something a second ago I wanted to reflect on. This weekend, I've been to a couple of dinners at GOPs, and I've been kind of out and about, even at lunch today. I've had people stop me and say, thank you for what we're doing here. Because on the conservative side, there's very few people that just focus, or I don't know that any focus on just delivering the breakdown of the bills while General Assembly is in session.
Well, it's really hard to find. Today, you know, there was a Council of State meeting, and if it weren't for Luke Farley and asking him point blank, can you put the link out for us? We wouldn't even know that was going on. So I think we are making an impact with the right people. And listen, this is what we did this for. We want to help North Carolina conservatives, you know, take an hour out of your day to understand what's going on in your state so that you can have a voice. I mean, it's not our voice that matters. It's all of our voices that matter together.
Well, that's true. And so the things that we're going to be presenting tonight, a few bills, just remember, you know, we hear this feedback a lot, whether it's online feedback or people calling us from Messenger, that it doesn't matter what the Republicans are putting up as far as bills because we don't have the supermajority. But that's simply not true. And we know it's not true because when you look at the budget every year, you're going to see things that didn't pass in bill form, but they'll be in the budget if there's enough clamor for it. So just remember that, you know, just because we don't have the supermajority, that doesn't mean anything.
I can tell you one thing. Racial divides in pickleball, which is a bill from a Democrat, will not be in the budget.
Come again?
There's seriously a bill out there from some Democrat that believes that we need to acknowledge there's pickleball racism and they need their own minority pickleball.
Minority pickleball. Okay. What do you mean? Like an all black league or an all gay league?
I wish I understood. I mean, why would you bring that to the exactly all blonde league? I don't know.
That might be fun.
It might be fun. I just don't see where pickleball's like a state level issue.
I don't give a shit about pickleball.
Me either.
Especially with what's going on and with illegal immigration, for instance. I want to put up this report. Everyone's been talking about it. It is a national disgrace what's going on here.
They say that when police responded to the 911 call reporting a stabbing at that home on Belle Arthur Drive, they say that Darbouzi opened the door with blood on his face, hands, and pants. They also say they found a bloody knife in his room as they also went in and did a security sweep and found the bodies of those 3 victims. Now, it is understood at this point, authorities are saying that Darbouzi is a relative of these victims. He is a part of the family. I spoke with the mother earlier today. She described him as being an adopted, more distant relative. And again, that day on Friday, when authorities sweep the home, not only did they found the bodies of the 3 victims, 77-year-old Beatrice Desser, as well as a 13-year-old and a 4-year-old, they also found
13-year-old and a 4-year-old. And this guy is an illegal, okay, on an ICE detainer. They're getting them the hell out from Haiti. And there are cultures that do not mesh with ours, right? They shouldn't be here illegally, damn sure. And the refugee status, we need to take a second look.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm really sad because we know the majority of these crimes are coming in the sanctuary city areas.
Yep.
I was kind of surprised to see Fayetteville in there. I didn't realize they had, or if they do have refugee status. We know Charlotte does. We know Raleigh does. We know Greensboro does. They're the epicenter of it all. But it is interesting to see Fayetteville in there.
Well, I mean, we're going to go over in detail Cabarrus County tonight. That is a place that you wouldn't expect any of this to go on. It actually does go on. And we're going to go over it. In fact, I asked Brian Echevarria, who's a rep there, if he could join us. And unfortunately, he could not join us tonight. But yeah, I mean, so we have it everywhere. And so maybe, actually, since you brought up Charlotte, do you think it's possible that these bedroom communities to sanctuary cities are seeing an overflow?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Listen, we're seeing it here in far western North Carolina because we are a bedroom community to Atlanta. It's not far to drive from there. And listen, it's cheaper to live here. People aren't looking at you. They don't know you're here. We're seeing it, and plus there's rural work to be done. There's chicken farms over in Georgia and LJ and places, so they can find work and they want to work, some of them. But here's how I can tell that it's really moving out from the urban areas to suburban areas. When you start seeing, I'll say international flavored grocery stores specifically for one culture, there's a reason for that, because they're not going to be able to make any money unless there's people there to support it.
Right. And so actually I've got this story on prematurely. Whoops. So yeah. And a lot of people might say, oh, that's so xenophobic, etc.
Until you watch somebody get stabbed.
Well, I mean, to be clear, international groceries do not equate to legal migrant.
I didn't mean to say that, but
and you haven't. So I just want to make it clear for everybody. But it is an indicator, okay, that a community is moving in, right? And oftentimes, if it's fast, like what you're saying, if it's like in a year, etc., it can be and usually is a resettlement. And the feds do that. Oftentimes beyond the purview of the local authorities. And that's what's so dangerous, because a lot of them are unvetted.
Yeah, we are noticing. I went back and looked at the census data, just in this teeny tiny county of 28,000 people, the largest growing minority population is Hispanic. That's astounding. Yeah. And there's not jobs here. So they have to be living here and working outside of the area.
Interesting. But Hispanics from, it's different. I mean, if it's Mexico, it's one thing. If it's Venezuela, we know and understand some of the, I would say, challenges that we've had from Venezuelans. Particularly, let me show you. There's a couple of gangs. The most dangerous one, I believe, is Tren de Agua, spreading to 16 states. Deadly gangs. They were actually occupying the Roosevelt Hotel. Remember, we've been talking a lot about that in New York. But they're also here. Look at this map.
Well, and what's really interesting about that is it doesn't even show that even people in Myrtle Beach will tell you they pretty much own Myrtle Beach now. So It's trending from North Carolina coastline down.
So these are the recognized sanctuary cities up where you are: Buncombe County, Durham. Okay, that would be right in the enclave of Raleigh. Forsyth County, that's Winston-Salem. Guilford, that's Greensboro. Mecklenburg, Charlotte. Orange is Chapel Hill, which has become a S-hole. and Watauga County, where there's Boone. You know, I noticed that a lot of these are they have major universities. Have you?
Liberals. Lots of liberals. Wherever the liberals are, they're all for this, you know. But you know what's funny? When a liberal gets put in a position where the crime occurs to them, they change their tune.
Well, not openly.
No, not openly, but they will. I have had several who have been involved in crime incidents who all of a sudden realize it's, you know, it is pervasive.
Well, I mean, even in New Hanover County, New Hanover is not known.
Drug bust. Sheriff's investigators worked with Homeland Security in a case that led them to a home on Fair Lawn Drive in Wilmington.
Tonight, Juan Puentes, Christian Villarreal, and Diego Dusan face several drug trafficking charges each. WECT's.
Okay, so they're with a gang, and so they're distributing deadly drugs, and they're catching them everywhere. We don't want you guys to think that it's just exclusive to these areas, because it most certainly is not.
No, we see it here. Franklin County just had a mega bust. I mean, it's all over the state.
Yeah. So let's focus here on Cabarrus County. Cabarrus County is home to like Concord, Kannapolis. Again, it's outside of Charlotte, but it's still, you know, near. So you just heard about the drug trafficking. I'm going to show you some serious crimes. And by the way, these have only happened in February. So this is just the month of February that I'm showing you here. Okay, this is stolen vehicle, sale of drugs. Okay, this is just Cabarrus County. Okay, this is assault on a female. Okay, and then child pornography. And this is vehicle and drugs. So this is what the Democrats in their infinite wisdom so far in this legislative season have proposed. One bill that says it prohibits law enforcement to work with ICE at construction sites. Okay. And the thesis here is that these ICE agents are going to go harass, air quotes, innocent farm workers. Now,
Innocent farm workers are permitted.
That's right. Now, we know with a lot of these folks that come in, they're not at these farm sites. Cabarrus County is not a farming town by and large, right?
Right.
So it's just creating sanctuaries in
Correct.
farms, construction sites, all of that. By the way, these visas, too many of them are visa overstays, are taking American jobs in construction, in farming. They are jobs that Americans do want to do. They don't want to do them for $7 an hour, but they want to do them for $20 an hour, but they cannot because the labor market is way depressed.
It's not just the jobs. People don't realize it permeates into affordable housing because lower income and even middle income
and Medicaid.
But if you can't afford, if you're a working class individual and you can't afford a place to live because you have illegals or people that have overstayed their permits, here we are.
Overcrowded schools. So it's a drain on resources. It leads to rationing in some areas, in many areas of North Carolina.
And law enforcement, think about what they're going through.
Oh, God. Shortages there.
And if you're taking up all your resources, chasing down the criminals that are illegal, what is happening to your neighborhoods that are, just having petty crime or any other crime?
Yeah, which is important. Domestic violence, which is important. So, I mean, you're right. It's a major drag on resources. Here's another brilliant bill from the Democrats. This is a bill to prevent ICE and law enforcement from going into, now check this out, schools, churches, and hospitals.
Okay, so Mo Green supports this bill, I'm sure.
Oh, we're going to get to him. We're going to get to him, honey, but
I actually saw his support for that bill, though. He actually, put a post up on X that said he supports keeping ICE out of schools.
Well, nobody gives a damn because everybody I showed you. Now, let's go back and look at these criminals. Okay, let's go back and look. These are who the Democrats want to protect, including Mo Green. Mo Green, for those of you that don't know, he's the DEI king that sits at the head of North Carolina's Board of Education, or North Carolina's education system. So the Democrats want these guys to hide out in your schools and your churches,
in your neighborhood,
in your hospital, in your construction site. They want to give sanctuary let's make no mistake about it, to that and that animal who killed 3 people, the first story that we did, that's who they want to protect.
And I think this week, I think it may have been March 1st, actually, or 2nd, they caught 2 who had kidnapped a 15-year-old girl in New Hanover County. I believe that was in New Hanover County. So, and that was an Amber Alert that went across the state. So they're not just doing petty crimes. They're kidnapping your children.
And raping and child porn and sex assault. And we continue to show this week after week. I will say that Homeland Security is doing a better job of communicating. This account, if you're not following it on X, please do, because it is Homeland Security for North and South Carolina. So they're showing here 10 illegals and 1 member of the violent Venezuelan gang, Tren de Agua, were arrested in Raleigh, where I'm here. 1 who fled from Chicago thanks to the work of ICE, Raleigh, Chicago, blah, 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 Border Patrol. So that very violent gang, I think it's going to be classified as a terrorist group. Am I correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So terrorists have been apprehended, 10 of them in Raleigh. And I want to reiterate, the elected Democrats, the guy who's in charge of your schools, wants them to be able to hide out in schools. That's what he wants.
Well, we think about New Hanover. They were going to let them have a school, whole families of them. And I think there's another piece of this people don't understand, and I need to really illustrate it. According to the statistics in the government themselves, we actually have an anonymous source within the immigration department. North Carolina has the largest number of illegals and aliens seeking status in this country. That's scary.
North Carolina taxpayers already pay $3.14 billion, and that's about $800 annually for every household. So if you care about, I don't care about the crime, I'm in an area that's unaffected, you care about dollars and cents, you're going to care about that. These are the statistics right here. Okay.
Well, and illegals are not really being, they can say they have a number 410,000, but according to the department, yeah, that's right.
It's closer to 650.
But we do know there is, refugee status, alien status, all of those combined, we have the largest number.
That's terrifying, unacceptable, and we have to do something without delay here. I know that the Republicans have put up a bill, the North Carolina Border Protection Act. This happened last week. So it mandates state and local law enforcement cooperation with ICE. I think we already have that on the federal level, but this has enhanced penalties on the state level.
Correct.
Right? Okay, so it prevents state funds. It's a big one from benefiting unauthorized. So yeah, it's going to be Dave Bolak again. I think the busiest Council of State office these next 4 years is going to have to be auditing. And Dave Bolak.
If Dave Bolak does everything he needs to do, we won't need Tom Tillis to run. He just won't. This guy will be the king.
We're going to get to Tom Tillis. God, prevents UNC from adopting sanctuary policies. Before I read this, I was aware, but I didn't really know that was a threat. That's bullshit. Our universities are already not serving North Carolina students and Americans very well.
And I would have assumed a mom in Western North Carolina that would have already been a policy. I never would have considered that it wasn't until we started talking about this. It never occurred to me. And I don't think it does to a lot of, rural kids who really want to participate in the North Carolina system until they get down there. They have no idea.
Well, look, I don't care if in each of our 17 university systems that there's only 100 immigrants taking the spots of Americans. And I know there's much more than that. I don't care if there's 100. That's 100 too many. These spots belong to North Carolinians first and to Americans first. They belong to us. They do not belong to foreign nationals, especially the ones that are burning American flags, hate this country, and are trying to take us out from within.
Oh, and don't forget the part where they're harassing other students. I don't care what your religion is. If you're a North Carolina student attending a North Carolina school, regardless of your religion, your color, creed, whatever, if foreigners are harassing you, that should be a big fat get out of here.
Yeah. And it's happening all the time. We have shown you video after video, even slides, I think the other night, where you've got a foreign national, a Jordanian, I don't care what his status is here, and he's physically beating I think it's a professor. No excuse for this stuff, and they need to be gotten out. And Trump's getting very serious about this, very.
And he should be, because honestly, he ran on that. And I think we're doubling down on what he ran on. And I think there'll be more purging of Democrats if these Democrats in state legislatures, as well as in the Senate and the House, continue to hold on to these radical policies.
Well, the laws are there. Oversight needs to happen. I mean, we're beyond that. So auditing and oversight. Those are the two functions, I think.
And accountability. Like, if you're not going to do it, we're going to hold you accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. And toward the end of the show, you're going to talk about where the GOP stands. We've got conventions going on. I know that I'm going to the Cumberland County convention this weekend. You and I both are traveling all around. We're going to conventions. So we're going to talk about that later, but that's a big part of it. From the party's perspective, got to hold them accountable. So let's turn to this. This is kind of ridiculous what happened.
Mr. Speaker, I should be standing here today celebrating the Senate's passage of the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, a bill that simply ensures fairness and common sense in athletics. But instead, Senate Democrats made their priorities clear. 45 Senate Democrats voted against protecting women's sports. 45 Senate Democrats voted against keeping women's spaces safe. 45 Senate Democrats voted against protecting women. Despite the fact that 80% of Americans agree that men do not belong in women's sports, Senate Democrats still chose to ignore reality and put our daughters at risk.
What in the world?
I think it's great. It's brilliant. Cory Booker's going to lose his seat. John Ossoff's going to lose his seat. Warnock's going to lose his seat. This is brilliant. Honestly, we know who they are now. They've put their line in the sand, and now the mothers can bring everybody with them. They're going to go vote, and we're going to get them out, because frankly, if you don't care about our daughters, we do.
Our daughters, or us, quite frankly, it is incredibly unnerving to go into a restroom, and see a man there. This is so insane. So here's who the Democrats want to compete against your daughter.
Transgender woman, a former college swimmer, and the first trans athlete to be named Division I NCAA champion. I started swimming when I was 5 years old, and it's taught me so much. It's given me so many opportunities to learn, grow, develop, and connect with my peers. Opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't have access to it.
If you didn't have, can I say it? A penis.
Yes. Well, so here's the thing that is bad. This guy is a mediocre swimmer at best at his university as a man.
This is Leah Thomas. Wait,
Leah Thomas.
This is a guy cosplaying as a woman, and he has a fully intact penis, by the way, that he's really flashing around the locker room. He knows exactly what he's doing. And he swam against Riley Gaines, and because of his physical, the guy, you would never be able to get lats like that as a woman. You have to have that as a swimmer. The good
news is that Riley tied with him. The bad news is that they chose to default the number one status, because then it becomes a kind of almost a coin toss. They gave it to him. Well, it was recently pulled back from him this past week and given to Riley. But here's the part that really bothers me. It's too late, because that was her entrance to the Olympics.
Right.
And because of that, she didn't get to do those things. But you know what happens tonight?
I do. We're going to get to that in just a second.
Okay.
Along the same lines, we rightfully so in this country take a dim view on men hitting women, unless it is in the Olympics. That seems to be okay. You remember the Paris Olympics, where two men.
It's not okay anymore. Trump sent him a letter and said, "You're not doing that in L.A."
Right. But the Olympics have happened. So yeah, it's not okay anymore. And Trump was definitely opposed to this. Watch what he said.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
So, and I think it's very demeaning to women.
Yeah.
But, she wants to play sports and she wants to play against women. You don't necessarily want to play against men. It's okay, but you don't want to do it. Did you see the boxing match at the Olympic boxing? Did you see the guy?
I did.
Did you see that beautiful Italian girl? She's supposed to be a good boxer. She took just a left jab. The guy's up, he goes, boom. That's like a defensive punch. So it goes like that. I never saw it quite like that. She didn't actually go down. She walked back to her corner. She said, I just got hit harder than I've ever been hit before.
I mean, I was in Paris. I was at the Olympics when this was happening. And, what you didn't see is there were protests outside of the Olympics. It was nice to see. It was insane. It was insane. The feel there. And then I was also in London as well. No one was talking about it in London. It was a big deal in Paris, probably because there was an international crowd there. It was freaking ridiculous. I mean, it was horrible.
Well, what they've shown us is that they have no value for women, and that they're willing to literally kill us if they have to prove their point. And that is not going to sit well with the American public. We're not going to tolerate that.
We're not, as evidenced by the election. I wish more of the politicians around here kind of ran on that. I mean, look at this. Jesus, that ain't no damn woman.
Look at that bicep, man.
That ain't no damn woman.
Look at the size of their hand. The hands, a lot of times that gives it away.
Now, this guy is a Muslim. They don't take too kindly to
crossovers,
transgenders. So the hitting women part, maybe, but not this. So we have our very own Peyton McNabb. This is Matt Mercer, and the GOP is good after a while. Finally, the NCGOP acknowledges.
No, Matt Mercer acknowledges, not the NCGOP.
Okay, so they haven't yet. So let me back this up. So Peyton McNabb is a volleyball player that we've talked about a lot on the show because Marco and I were responsible for breaking the story. Okay. She is a volleyball player from Western North Carolina playing against a guy. The guy served a volleyball into her face at 70 miles an hour because the guy was considerably taller. And I was the first journalist to report it. Many follow-alongs came. And rightfully so, Peyton McNabb is one of the ambassadors now for women in sports and deserves it very much so with all the stuff that she tolerated. Permanently injured.
Couldn't be prouder of her. So that's today. Yeah. That's from her mother. Her mother sent that to me. That's her sister and Congressman Tim Burchett, who represents East Tennessee, who represents East Tennessee, which actually borders literally 5 miles away from Hiwassee Dam, where Peyton is from. So this picture could not be more, special because he's been nothing but supportive and helpful. We border, his area, and I couldn't be more proud of Peyton, but most especially I'm proud of her parents. Her father has been threatened by Mo Green because he's a principal of the high school. Well, I mean, I think he has probably 2 or 3 more years before he retires, but it's been well publicized that Mo Green has said, "I'm going to get you." And more than anything, I'm most proud of Pamela, her mother, because this is her daughter. She has other children, and yet they're setting the example every day of how to lead and how to not let adversity take you down. Because tonight they'll be at the White House. Well, they're at the White House now.
What's happening tonight at the White House? Tell us.
Well, so Peyton, yesterday it was announced, will be a guest at the at Trump's first speech in Congress. So today at 1:00, the entire family convened at the White House. They have to stay there until this evening. They'll ride with the presidential detail. Awesome. And that includes Daniel and Pamela and her brothers and sisters. And they will be the guests that will be recognized during Trump's State of the Union speech.
That's great. And it all started with you and me and a family willing to stand up. So don't think that one person can make a difference when you combine with others to get the job done.
And honestly, don't be afraid to ask someone to help you. I didn't know Sloan that well. We had crossed paths before.
Origin story.
Yeah, but I called her and just said, I need your help. And at first it was kind of what? Because nobody could believe this story was real. And then when I sent the footage and we really sat down, because Sloan's the kind of person that, are you kidding me? And then she analyzes it. And then she's like, it's on. And that's exactly what happened. And we just continued to go. And it was unbelievably fast how it took off. And I could never be more grateful for your friendship and for listening to me and for Peyton, because she's really putting Hiwassee Dam on the map, which, by the way, that's where my dad went to high school. And but more than that, she's getting the recognition because she's been through hell. I'm not kidding. Bodyguards at her high school graduation. Yeah. She's been sued by the Western Carolina University, which she won. She's been harassed by people on the campus at Western Carolina and all of that. And she still perseveres.
They love lawfare, don't they?
They do love lawfare. They got their ass beat.
Well, that's the first of many beatdowns when you try to mess with people with lawfare. I can tell you that. So, speaking of lawfare, Trump has put an end to lawfare today. He has issued an initiative this morning that rescinds DEI hiring practices with fire departments and police, which is a terrifying thought, to be honest with you, that they have been doing that. But he signed an EO. And he said, look, under the previous administration, actually, the DOJ filed lawsuits against various fire departments. Durham, North Carolina was one. And the allegation was that Durham, North Carolina, because they use cognitive tests, right, for firefighters, that it disenfranchised 19 Black firefighters.
Well, you know what? You have to pass the test. It's merit-based. I don't care what it is. It's merit-based.
It has to be when you're saving people's lives. It has to be. Good God. It's very frustrating. So what Biden administration was asking the Durham Fire Department, which, by the way, Durham is an area where there are a lot of Black people that live there. There are a lot of Black people on the force. Some make it onto the fire department, some don't. So Biden was asking that not only are they rehired, I guess they fell out of testing or whatever, but they were given compensation, back pay, whatever. Anyway, this EO with that, Pam Bondi came out and said, yeah, we're going to drop this suit.
Well, you know what's funny about that? I actually have some friends in the Greensboro area, counties out that way, who weren't allowed to test because they were white. What? So if they were held back from testing, did they get retro pay too?
Well, they weren't allowed to test because they were white.
Yeah, they were told that because of DEI and the fact that they didn't have enough racial diversity, that they were held back from the testing for the fire department.
I find that
this is for promotions.
Right. Then this was too. I find that so incredibly insulting to say that Black people inherently cannot perform as well as white people on a cognitive test. Are you kidding me?
I just don't think race has anything to do with it. And if you hold one person back, you cause animosity, you cause distrust, you cause people to question whether they actually have the ability to do things. I don't care what color.
And the public doubts it. One thing that is statistically present, probably at the same rate in every race, is stupidity. Stupidity is so well represented in every race, in every religion, in each gender. It just is.
Well, I want to say on a high note, though, Sloan, I'm really, and I mean this, I'm glad Raleigh chose the assistant or the assistant chief as the new chief, because that person has been in that job. I don't care what color they are. They've proven themselves by being in that job, and they leveled it up. And I think that's good. Instead of picking somebody from outside the area, they picked someone that was already there.
I like that. Yeah, no, I like that, working your way up, because we have seen a lot of police departments and sheriffs. We saw during BLM. In fact, it's interesting, but the same sheriffs that came into office during the era of Black Lives Matter, et cetera. It was in 2022, I believe, and their time is coming up. They're the ones that are in charge of the not cooperating with ICE.
Imagine
across
that.
the board. Durham, Wake, Charlotte, Buncombe,
Guilford,
Forsyth. Wow. I wonder if they're funded by Soros. I bet they are.
or some NGO that we're paying.
Oh. Yes. Oh, for sure. So speaking about DEI and eradicating it. Okay. So basically this is what Trump is saying. Merit-based hiring. Hello. Why would you not want to hire on merit? This is going to enhance public safety. Of course it will. Look, I mean, yeah, we've already seen that. Workforce integrity. What you just said. If people are making a priority to hire Jews, for instance, or blondes, okay?
They're not, but
But if they were going to hire blondes, and then there are blonde cops, right? And I got called, I might just dye my hair brown. I never thought of doing it, but just to look like I am fit for the job legitimately. They don't hire me because of my extreme beauty.
I love the hypotheticals. I think we're getting back to being rational human beings.
Yeah.
I don't think any culture, any race wants to be showcased like that. And if you do, you're race baiter. You just are.
Well, we have a lot of those.
Oh, absolutely we do.
We have a lot of those. We're going to be talking about one tonight, one big one. So look, this is a bill that's been proffered before.
Is this the one that, now this is,
Berger put this up?
that's what I was going to say. This is Berger's bill.
Yeah, it is. So in North Carolina, the lion's share of the power over schools, I don't care what anyone tells you, is the majority who's in the House and the Senate, in particular the Senate. That'd be Phil Berger. So all that is to say, when he sponsors a bill, right?
People watch.
And you might definitely be seeing it in the budget.
And he's definitely up for re-election, so he knows he's got to put something out there worth it.
Right. He's had a lot of founded allegations of being a rhino and being a uniparty zealot and other things. So, I mean, this is just, promote a fair learning environment based on merit, not identity. It mirrors what we're seeing in the White House, right? It also mirrors bills in Florida, South Carolina, and Oklahoma.
And bills that we currently have. The bottom part, strengthening the parental rights bill.
Right. That's right. We already have that. Ensuring schools remain focused on education, not being an activist. Now, we're going to have a problem. This is Mo Green.
That's the race baiter.
This is the race baiter. This is Al Sharpton on steroids. Mo Green is nothing but a DEI king. That's why I have his little thing there. He wants illegals to be harbored in schools. We already know that. He said that discipline is racism.
Oh, and if you discipline a Black person differently, you have to discipline them less harshly than a white child.
That's
he
right.
Said that.
He's ridiculous, but luckily, the General Assembly has control, and I'm going to tell you how. You want to know how? And this next slide, I don't know. This is a hero's cape.
It looks like half of an angel's wing.
It does. Dave Bullock could be a hero. Look, I'll tell you the power that we have. Auditing, oversight, and accountability. So if he were to audit programs and find, wow, we have, $15 million going to DEI programs, I thought that was illegal. So he does the auditing. And then the oversight committee says, well, holy shit, that's a real problem. What are we going to do?
That money.
Right. And then there is a clawback. That can all be done by the Republican-controlled House and Senate in the General Assembly.
You don't need a supermajority for it. Just having control is good enough to get that money back. And honestly, if that were to save the taxpayers money and even look at funding raises for teachers, which is a big debate right now, how can you say no?
Let's talk about that for a minute. You and I have exposed the fact that there are a number of H-1 visas that are going to schools all over. So here's how it works. So a school will actually, a company will come to school system and say, look, I can bring you, you're short 50 teachers. I'll bring you 25 in from another country. And instead of paying them $45,000, you can pay them $30,000 and bring them in. What it does is it depresses the hell out of the labor market.
It's worse.
For teachers.
But it's worse to me because when you see in a county, like I can't remember which county we saw, where they were looking for an H-1B visa holder to teach English. That what the hell is going on when you have it was Nash County. What is going on when you cannot find an English teacher? Hell, I can teach English. I can even do sentence structure, and I can actually do the diagrams.
Are you going to do it for $30,000 a year?
Listen, if I retire from this job, I don't give a damn.
Well, here's
wait a minute. Wait. I would do it for that pension.
Well, look, you don't have to pay the visa holder's pension. And so what the logic is that, the same teachers and the same Mo Green that wants copious amounts of illegals or, H-1 visas, he says he wants pay raises for his teacher. He's full of shit, because nobody that wants better working conditions, better pension, safer environment, and more money for teachers wants copious amounts of illegals or H-1 visa holders. He is a liar, ladies and gentlemen, a liar.
But Sloan, here, I'll be honest with you. I think it's interesting that they're not tapping into veterans who have degrees and are retired or are, that they would take a $30,000 salary to take a job like that.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Instead of saying, wow, we seem to have shortages around for a job, and I'm just shooting it out there, $42,000 is the entry, right? If they were legitimately concerned, if they were legitimately wanting to fill those jobs with Americans, you're right. They would keep the pay at $42,000 or whatever it is, plus the benefits, right? And they would never dream of bringing Nash County. You would never dream. Alan Chesser, you're the rep in Nash County. What in the hell, buddy? You would never dream of allowing your schools to advertise for a foreigner to come in here and teach English for $30,000, because what you're doing is you're depressing the labor market. And so what happens is 5 years from now, 10 years from now, right? If we're getting half of our teachers, I'm just saying half of our teachers will do $30,000 a year, no pension, etc. Do you think that drives the labor market up or down?
And what about the children? Let's talk about the actual children. Like, if you're coming here to teach English and it's not your first language, who's teaching who English?
Well, I mean, I'll play the devil's advocate just to annoy you. I do a lot.
I love it. I have to move up in my chair.
If you're from Jamaica, I have to tell you, I would love an English teacher from Jamaica. I mean, they speak
that's different.
Yeah. And you're probably not getting that, right? I don't know where you're getting them from, but
I'm thinking China, Middle East.
I
would love it if they were Spanish speaking and they were truly bilingual, but there has to be a line in the sand.
Right. If you cannot find they can find an English teacher. This is, by the way, I think this illustrates that they aren't really bringing in foreigners for jobs that Americans don't want to do. Americans do want to do this, but they expect to be paid a fair wage. So everybody out there that's, grievance hustlers that are saying, we're not being paid a fair wage. Well, part of the reason why is because you're also advocating for open borders and limitless H-1 and H-2 visas. I mean,
well, and I think, Sloan, it's not just a fair wage. You expect those benefits. You're not going to work just for wages. Right. If you want family health care, that's a job benefit that you are working toward. If you want a pension, a lot of teachers go into it thinking, I'm going to be paid less now, but when I retire, I will have bigger benefits than others, and I don't have to work all summer.
That's true. That's true. And so what you're saying is, a 24-year-old fresh out of college, or even a, retiree, whatever, or a 35-year-old job changer, they would gladly accept a lower pay on the front end for the first 5 years to be set for what they think is life, for a career, not a job, a career.
Notice they had to retransition out. So they took the pension away and they said, we're going to a 401k. And guess what? They're back to a pension because it didn't retain.
I liked it. Yeah.
Right. So the point I think the other part of it is the largest pension contributors in North Carolina are teachers. And I think that, I would consider that, as if I retired, I would consider teaching coding, technical classes, going back and, getting a degree in English, just as a side hustle. I'm teaching kids who want to learn something just to get a second retirement. It'd be worth it.
This is a career, not a job. So the fact that a lot of schools, I think we counted over 12 out of our 115 are doing it. We're going to do a deeper dive into it. It's a problem, and we cannot, it's America first, and that includes American jobs first. Now, to no surprise, our friend at the News and Observer, is saying now I love this story, because I'm going to tell you why. They're saying teachers they have low morale, and they think that the panacea to cure what ails them is more DEI. You think there was any timing?
That's the funniest thing I've ever read.
Well, a new survey, done by an education organization, a national one, found that North Carolina was among the states where a majority of teachers said embracing DEI and inclusion would help improve their morale. Okay. The interesting thing in this same study, though, check this out. Overall morale, this is nationally, overall morale was up 2 points over last year. Who's president? So in other words, we need more DEI for morale. Well, morale is up.
I just find that.
What do you think?
I think it's ridiculous. I think somebody's bullshitting us. That's what I think.
What? Never.
So this is a James Lindsay moment.
Okay, so this is kind of cool. Teachers in the same survey said they want more discipline. Now check it. Now hold on. And they think restorative justice is bullshit. Hello, teachers. Do you know that restorative justice is DEI applied to this? In other words, we want more DEI for morale, but we don't want it applied to discipline. And that sounds fair. Now, here's a quote from a North Carolina teacher who sounds like she has some sense. I struggle with emphasizing on restorative justice, which we brought, Annette on here to talk about Albright, as discipline, because it seems to be implemented in such a way that consequences for serious students, like beating somebody's ass, disrespect, foul language, like I just used, are reduced to conferences and meetings and
mealy mouth crap.
Yeah. In other words,
get that paddle out.
In other words, DEI applied to discipline is a disaster. And now we go back to this little fella. Mo Green wants DEI in discipline. So teachers, listen to me. We're at loggerheads here.
You're dumb. You sound dumb.
Not
you, but teachers sound dumb saying that.
We're idealistic. Listen, you want somebody idealistic working with children.
Listen, I love it. Look, my grandma was a teacher, and I'll never forget, all the children of the world, right?
Yeah.
But let me tell you what else my grandma would say. If you weren't doing what you were supposed to in her classroom, that's back when the paddle worked and they used it.
I used to get paddled.
I did too.
Frequently than anyone in first and second grade with something called Mr. Be Good.
Mr. Be Good. I had Miss Cox in 8th grade. I smarted off to her one time at Jamestown Middle School, and she took that woman was tiny. She took that paddle, wore me out. And then my mom wore me out at home for letting myself get in a position to get worn out.
Mine, if you can believe it, was for talking all the time.
I don't remember. I'm sure she told me to shut up, and I said another word just to get her to stop.
I'm sure the two of us in the same class would have been more than a teacher deserves to handle.
Ironically enough, it was my journalism class, just so you know.
That disappoints me to no end. I do not like hearing that at all. I wanted to tell you that the Cooper bill actually made it through.
I can't even believe they named it that, though.
What do you think about that?
I thought it was kind of a slap in the face to name it that, considering what he didn't do. I know it stands for something, but honestly, when I saw that, I was like, are you guys assholes or what?
Well, here's what I thought. The people in the House named it, leadership named it. But why would you do that? And I'm just throwing it out there. If Roy Cooper, who was our Democrat
governor,
he's going to run for Senate, is what the scuttlebutt is. Why would you give him more name recognition?
I don't know. I think it's interesting. I find, but let's be honest. The bill is interesting because it still refers to Florence and Matthew, which is scary. That he's named.
None of the money got to where it needs to go.
Correct.
I do like the aggressive nature of the way that the House and Senate are handling it, and they're really kind of following Trump's lead. Trump is laser targeted on Western North Carolina and storm recovery.
Right. Yep.
So,
right.
But why would you do it? I mean, I'm a political consultant too. If I'm Tillis, I am pissed.
Because they don't have a Tillis bill. Because he didn't do anything.
You're naming it Cooper. And so you're having your opponent's name over and over and over again. Tillis's consultant does watch us.
Oh, really? Hey.
Oh, by the way, Tillis consultants, I just want to give you a cue. You need to take 2 shots now. Let it simmer. 2 shots and just a half a codeine, not a full one. Just a half to take the edge off, okay? Starting now. Because
I just want to tell you, if you're watching that little survey you sent me today, I'm sorry, when you sent me Right to Win Red, that's a fundraiser.
Oh, they sent you a fundraiser for
I know. I was like, I ain't giving you a dime. Not a dime.
Huh. Well, I'm off that list, or maybe I blocked them. So, all right. So this is an interesting bill. I want to get your take. It's a bill to revise the death penalty.
I saw that today.
Okay. It's put up by Republicans. Neil Jackson's one of them, but it gives a death penalty recipient a choice of the electric chair, lethal injection,
sodium pentothal,
or the firing squad. That's so retro and historic. That's a badass way to go out.
I don't know. I mean, listen, after what we saw Roy Cooper, commute sentences for people that had murdered before, got out of jail and murdered again. Now they're commuted sentences. I mean, it's crazy to see Neil Jackson put a bill up like that.
It's kind of weird. I'm going to tell you, it's a House bill. It clarifies and updates methods and procedures for executing death sentences. You like that?
It's weird. When's the last time we had an execution, though, Sloan?
Okay, so the last time, I'm glad you asked, was August 18th, 2006, when Samuel Flippin, and there's nothing else like Samuel Flippin was executed by lethal injection. And since then, there's pretty much been a de facto moratorium on any execution. So, I mean, it's very interesting. The bill says that, and this makes sense, healthcare practitioners, if you're, putting the cocktail together, the lethal cocktail, you will not be held responsible for killing someone. I can't believe that's already in there.
I can't either. But, the point is, this is a kind of waste of time bill because, I mean, unless he knows somebody's getting executed soon and we don't know it, could happen.
Okay, well, this is one that may require a supermajority. I mean, this is not something the Democrats are going to go.
No, they're not going to go. They want pickleball.
Well, I called Neil Jackson today, representative from Moore County, and I asked him to weigh in on it. I guess he was busy today. They have a full day, but I'm going to the General Assembly tomorrow.
Oh, you are?
I am. I'll be there all day. And I will ask about this. What's the deal? I really want to know, like, firing squad. I mean, look, don't say that we're not benevolent here. Look, you have a menu of options if you are on death row. A menu now. And by the way, if you've committed heinous murders and atrocities, you're welcome. I think that's pretty gracious considering what you've done.
I don't think it's going to pass, but okay. What else is up? Anything?
Well, okay. Do we think that the shots have kicked in for the Tillis advisors, et cetera? Because I'm getting ready to trigger you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Discussion that gets to a mutually beneficial outcome for us. But I think with it has to be, at the very least, a push and a loss for Vladimir Putin. This cannot be a scenario where Putin wins, period.
Would you like to see a resumption of aid?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I support the supplemental. I'll support continued funding. I want to make it clear to Putin he can't win. So I'm looking forward.
Okay, so I really want to get into this because I have a couple of friends that are, Tom Tillis is swimming against the current, right? Which is not necessarily bad when people do that. When Tom Tillis does it, it's always bad. But I have a couple friends that are like, well, what's the deal? Why are we letting Russia win? So they have the same argument. Well, we're going to break this down. Here's another video where it's taken a week or 2 weeks ago, where again, Tillis is explaining why
national security are right. I believe his instincts are pretty good. But what I'm telling you, whoever believes that there is any space for Vladimir Putin in the future of a stable globe better go to Ukraine. They better go to Europe. They better invest the time to understand that this man is a cancer and the great.
In other words, if you're we've heard this before from him. If you're an American, you have no right to talk about this unless you've been over there. And I love the fact that he's using a CNN exhibit.
Well, that's very Tom Tillis-like.
Very Tom Tillis-like. So I want to play just the rest of it. So
greatest threat to democracy in my lifetime. And it will be a cancer that spreads into the South China Sea, into Taiwan, and metastasize across the globe.
What?
So, ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you that Vladimir Putin is a liar, a murderer, and a man responsible for ordering the systematic torture, kidnapping, and rape of innocent civilians.
The problem is that can be said for a myriad of other countries, all Arab countries, by the way. So how many of these are we going to get into? And I explain to people, you're going to have a better explanation, that if it were directly related, if they had killed 17 Americans and were holding 7, like in Gaza, the only difference is Israel pays for their weapons. Ukraine doesn't, and we're paying for everything. But if that had happened, you could make a case for it. There are so many countries that are a threat and doing exactly what Tom would Uganda. So if you know what I'm saying? If you're using
South Africa, what's going on in South Africa, Nigeria, what's going on in China.
Christians, isn't that worth intervening in? I'm sorry, if you're beheading Christians at a very rapid rate, I think it's happening weekly, doing horrible things. I think that's more worthy of intervening in.
I just think Tom Tillis has a dog. He's a dog with a bone, and he can't let up. I'm not saying Vladimir Putin is a good guy. I would never say that. But I will say I do not believe America needs to be the largest funder of both this war, proxy war, and NATO at 70% of NATO funding, and the UN. No, we don't need to be doing that. Tom, look at your own constituents. They don't support you.
No, they don't.
I support Russia.
Well, I'll show you. It's funny that you say that, because I want to give this photo.
Wake County for you.
Well, hundreds gathered at the state capitol to support Ukraine. And so in other words, Democrats support lighting our money on fire with fraud, waste, and abuse in the federal government level. And
did they drive their Teslas to that protest?
Yeah, and sending our money away. So I just want to show you who owns the pictures so that I can show you the pictures. So here's what they're doing up at the Capitol today, right? And get this, make fascists afraid again. Do they understand?
No.
That their party advocates the literal tenets of fascism?
No, because we have a press that has changed the definition of everything with true disinformation. And now, it's really odd. It's a weird place to be, 1984-ish, where, the press will tell you one thing, but if you have a sense of intelligence, you can tell that that's not the case.
In fact, the less education you have in today's world, the better you are at sniffing out bullshit. That's how utterly screwed our universities are. And I'm just going to say it. The Ivy Leagues are. Of course, that's
all the pink hats in there
after I left. But, and you have, you have PhD. So you're really, you and me both, we're not supposed to be able to see common sense things. And yet,
well, we're not supposed to be conservatives either.
We're not supposed to be blonde either.
I'm not. It's camouflage.
I'm not either. But yeah, so in other words, the American people, and that's what this election showed, right? It showed that people see that this is total bullshit. When you have money, copious amounts of money going for something that I really haven't heard a politician make an appropriate case. That was a weak case.
Well, but here's the thing I don't get, Sloan. When Obama sent like blankets, Tom Tillis wasn't bitching about it. When George Bush was doing his thing, Tom Tillis wasn't bitching about it. But now he is. What's going on? Is he tied to like BlackRock or something going on over there? I don't know.
Well,
I'm just saying it's weird that he's become very vocal in the last 2 years or 3 years, 4 years.
Which is counterintuitive. Well, he needs to shut up. It's counterintuitive. By the way, Tillis Consultants, now you see why I recommended the half a codeine. It's counterintuitive because he wants to win. And what he's doing,
what?
He wants to win in the midterms. So he's really up against it in the Senate here in North Carolina. He's
not going to win.
Well, I see his strategy. He's reading the tea leaves and he's thinking that, wow, okay, so we ran some candidates at the state level. So at the Council of State, who were, flamethrowers, red meat Republicans. They lost their asses.
He helped with that.
He's not calculating that. He helped with that. And he thinks that somebody that can split the middle. Here's the thing, Tom, with an H, that the Democrats will never love you. They will never vote for you, ever. And if you lose just 10% of the base, which you have, you're screwed.
Yeah. And honestly, if there's a primary contender that can pull some unaffiliated voters, he could lose. He could lose in the primary.
Well, that would be better for the health of our party. And certainly,
well, you can't expect the NCGOP to not help him. Their number one goal is to protect the seat. And I understand that, but they didn't do that for Mark Robinson. So now you're going to decide that you'll help someone you like because you're buddies with him, but you wouldn't do it for all the seats.
Tell me what's going on with the GOP. There's a few counties that have already had their convention. There's mine tomorrow night with Wake County where there's some bullshit going on. What's going on? So
truly what we're seeing is the grassroots has risen up. The first big indicator was Mecklenburg, where the grassroots candidate won by 60-40. That's a great win.
Okay.
I don't know what's going. The only one I really haven't paid much attention to, which I should because I grew up there, is Guilford. I need to find out about that. Tomorrow night is Wake, which to me is really now Wake County. If you live in Wake County and you vote for who is already running Wake County, I am really concerned for you.
There's no way in hell I'm voting for her. And I'm telling you, I didn't even know she was on the ballot. She's pulling some funny business and saying, if you didn't buy your tickets to go to the convention, by the way, for those of you that don't know, the convention is where you choose your leaders every 2 years, right? You go and you decide who's going to lead the party. Well,
in your county,
every county, all 100 counties. And it is drama. But I buy my ticket at the last minute. I do everything at the last minute. I buy it at the door. And I would say in Wake County, because we're big, we're city folk, probably at least a third do that. So the current chair.
Well, wait a minute. She scheduled this on Ash Wednesday, which is a holy day for Catholics. Tomorrow is Ash Wednesday. In the evening, which I find to be very insensitive, but also strategic.
Yeah.
And I bring that in because I would say the same thing if it was the first day of Ramadan or whatever. I don't care. But, there's a significant contingent.
It's Ramadan right now. So
I know. That's why I said that.
Okay. So here's the deal. Well, we have a tremendous amount of Indians population. If you did it on an Indian holiday, I mean, a lot, and you'd be screwed. So, what I'm telling the audience is I can't go to my convention now because the current chair made it so if I didn't buy my tickets, Sunday night?
Well, that's in contention. The original date that she provided in her rules is that you had to have bought your ticket by Sunday night so that they knew you were coming. However, that does not follow the bylaws. So if you're interested in going to the convention tomorrow night, please get a hold of Donna Williams because she is fighting this battle for all Wake County residents who want to attend their convention.
Congressional District 2, by the way.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then I would say the other thing is vote for Sandy.
Yes, Sandy Joyner. The on the ground, we've had her on the show. I've run campaigns. I work very closely with her. She's great. So we've got, Mecklenburg County, they went to a grassroots. We've got tomorrow night is Wake County. There's a lot of contention.
Last night, New Hampshire had a grassroots win.
Okay. And then I'm going to Cumberland County. There's a lot of stuff going on there. That's Fayetteville. I'll report what's going on there. And so we'll just keep an eye on the counties. But I know, that you are upset with the head of the GOP for various reasons, and you've touched on that. So you don't believe that he performed well enough in the general election.
No.
And yet, here's how he would, I'm going to just argue for him. He would say, we got out the vote, right? And Trump won, full stop. And he would say, look at the registrations right now. The registrations, tell me.
It doesn't, the numbers don't matter if you don't get the supermajority, the judicial races, and you don't win in the counties. You can't say, I'm only here for Trump. That's what the RNC is for, not for the GOP. The GOP is to win statewide and county races as well as congressional races. We did a great job for Trump. We did a pretty good job for congressional races. We didn't get Lori Buck out. I'm not crying about that. Okay. But we did not win the supermajority. And they don't want to talk about that.
We need to, by the way, if you're in CD1, we need to pressure Don. You don't put your feet up and say, okay, we'll wait till the next time around. BS on that. We either flip Don Davis to Republican or we push the hell out of him to act like a Republican. That's what you have to do in CD1 right now. Don't worry about your leadership. That's another majorly
that's a big miss. That was a huge miss.
That's a huge miss. But I'm telling you guys, you need to push the hell. That district is getting redder and redder and redder.
Wait. It's not just about the congressional candidate. You have to have good district leadership. And when you have someone who is solely responsible because his district lost us that supermajority.
Who are we talking about? Harvey West.
Harvey West.
Out there.
Harvey West.
Okay.
Harvey West, who's been a 2-time district chair and more, at least a 2-time district chair, who has a criminal record for being a sexual offender.
Really?
He went to jail for 7 years. We should have done 50 for indecent liberties with children. 3 different girls as a police officer when they were underage.
Has he ever apologized for it or admitted?
No, he's the victim. Wow. He's the victim.
And he's running. He has something to do with GOP. What in District 1, you say?
Mm-hmm.
And does he have a competitor? Hopefully,
he does. Bobby Foley, who is endorsed by General Flynn. But the thing you asked me,
let me make my endorsement right now. I've known Bobby Foley for the last 4 years. I've never seen a more competent, on the ground, in tune activist in my life. Maybe she'll need to get up to speed with fundraising, but that's where I want to lend my hand right now and tell you, if you're listening, Bobby Foley, not only do I endorse you, I will do everything that I can to help your district get the resources that it needs to get the job done, because we cannot have a convicted, someone served time, sexual predator in the Republican Party
as a leader and being covered up by the current leadership.
I'm speechless.
As a matter of fact, he sits on the plan of organization at the state level, which is the bylaws committee, basically. And he's the only one that doesn't want a felony clause on that committee. Why is that?
A felony clause is something that the Democrats have. Let me explain to you, listeners, what that is. It means if you have a felony for crimes of moral turpitude, that includes sexual improprieties with young girls or boys. If you have that, you are not allowed to throw your name in the hat to run for leadership. The North Carolina Democrat Party is full of reprobates. I'm sorry. The leadership is full of reprobates. The people are wonderful. Love North Carolina Democrats. I know many of them. I love you. But at least they don't allow convicted felons to serve in leadership.
Well, we do. We have
wow. Okay,
so pled guilty.
What do we need to do to change that this year? This is the year we need to change it.
So at the state convention, from the floor, we will have to make amendments to the plan of organization if that is not in the plan when it goes to the floor, which happens on Friday, the weekend of the state convention. Mm-hmm. But right now we're focused on county conventions. You can go to the NCGOP website and look for the conventions. I put them all up on X, but they're going on all month of March. Then district conventions will happen in April, and then the state convention will happen in May. And it's really important that we show up and vote because we have a contender to run against Jason Simmons. And I know Brooke McGowan. She started a group in Hawaii called Wahinis for Trump. She's from North Carolina. She's done a lot of activism. She ran for Congress. And I think that it's time for change. We need to get the Tillis, Watley, Simmons people out.
Okay. So we'll talk about that because we have May. But what we're going to do, we commit to you, is let you know how these counties develop. And the reason for that is, if you want to keep America First policies, right, you're going to have at the county level leaders that do two things. They hold current office holders accountable for their behavior, have to have that, and they recruit. They recruit and help fund candidates in the model of America First, and not in the model of some country club Republican like Tom Tillis. That is, if you're a county leader that holds candidates responsible, it's only natural you're going to look for candidates that you're not going to have to stay on their ass all the time, right?
Right.
Okay.
I think we're at the point in North Carolina where we need to either fish or cut bait when it comes to being a true transparent party. When you have leadership that has chosen and elected to take financial gains without making it public, without going through the committees appropriately, that's just not right. And this gentleman, Jason Simmons, is collecting a salary without going through the appropriate ways to get it. He didn't want to disclose it. It was disclosed like an excited utterance. And it shocked most of the Central Committee that was there when they found out. And to find out that it was perpetrated by two other members that work for him. What can you imagine? Scratch that itch a little bit. That was wrong. So I think it's time. We need to get rid of the Robin Hayes, Michael Watley, Dallas Woodhouse, all those old guys, and move along. It's time.
Well, as things unfold, right, we'll learn more about this. The great thing is we have choice. So that's what I want to tell everybody, that, leading up to the convention, we're going to talk more about this. And we're going to agree. First of all, Margot, you and I talk about this all the time. This is your jam.
We don't agree on everything.
We're not going to agree on everything. And this is your jam.
It is my jam. This is my favorite time of year, March Madness.
This is March. Yeah, this is, and by the way, there ain't nothing sweet about this 16. Leading up to March Madness, there's a lot of madness and not a lot of sweet, but I'm here for it.
So it's my birthday month, it's convention month, and it's March Madness. So that's my favorite month. It's full of controversy. It's full of upsets. It's full of surprises. I'm so proud of Kyle for winning in Mecklenburg. I'm so disappointed in UNC right now. So there's a lot going on.
Okay. And we're going to keep you up to date. Look, this has been a long show. So we're going to let you guys go. Thursday, Thursday, don't miss the show. We're going to cover a lot of, but I mean, we're staying on this topic of illegal immigration. We're going to hold our leaders accountable, and we're going to have an update on all this convention stuff. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, and have a great night. Remember, share this with 10 people or else.
That's right. And for all you comms guys out there in the NC Ledge, thank you for listening.
Yay. Yes. Thank you very much. I'm going to give them a heads up. They're doing a great job over there. All right. Absolutely. Good night.
That's a wrap on today's NC Political Tea. We hope you're leaving sharper, spicier, and ready to take on the political craziness in the Tar Heel State. If you loved what you heard, or even if it made you mad, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this show with your friends, family, and that one coworker who just needs the truth. Follow us on social media to stay in the loop and get your daily dose of conservative fire. And remember, here in North Carolina, the grassroots grows stronger when we stand together. Until next time, keep the faith, keep up the fight, and don't let the left water down your tea. This is NC Political Tea, where we spill it like it is. That's a wrap on today's NC Political Tea. We hope you're leaving sharper, spicier, and ready to take on the political craziness in the Tar Heel State. If you loved what you heard, or even if it made you mad, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this show with your friends, family, and that one coworker who just needs the truth. Follow us on social media to stay in the loop and get your daily dose of conservative fire. And remember, here in North Carolina, the grassroots grows stronger when we stand together. Until next time, keep the faith, keep up the fight, and don't let the left water down your tea. This is NC Political Tea, where we spill it like it is.